Alright, so today I'm going to be doing a 2024 presidential election prediction. This is October 5th, 2021, and at this current moment in time, if we look at Biden's approval rating, it has gotten a little bit better, at least according to these numbers could be off. They probably are off, knowing the state of the polling, but roughly this is where it's going to be. So we see that he's at a 45.3% approval and a 47.9% disapprove. So let's see, where's the, I would guess the Afghanistan stuff was somewhere around here. See, it goes down. And it's going back up a little bit. The disapproval rating's gone down a bit as well. But just keep this in mind as we do the prediction. Went from 55, currently 45. Okay. Also, if we look at the previous election, in 2020, Joe Biden won many of these swing states by decent margins relative to Trump's margins in 2016. As we see that he narrowly won the Rust Belt, which was considered the blue wall, no one was ever going to break it, but then Trump just slammed right through it. See, he won Wisconsin by 0.76, Michigan by 0.22, which I believe is closer, yeah, it was closer than New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania by 0.72, and then Arizona 0.35, which I don't know if it was considered a battleground state. I don't know much about that back then. I know New Hampshire was, and Florida, especially Florida. See, all these states moved, and then compared to 2020, 2016 to 2020, maybe it'll work with me. Here we go. Okay. So you see, Wisconsin shifted 1.4%, Michigan 3.0, and Pennsylvania almost 2%. However, that does not compare to Arizona 3.8, Georgia 5.4, Minnesota 5.6, New Hampshire 7, which shifted more than Minnesota. People weren't expecting that. However, other states such as Florida got more Republican, along with Utah, Nevada, California, although these are such little amounts that I don't know if it really is worth talking about. But with all that in mind, let's begin. So far it's looking like it is going to be Trump, who is, I would say, probably 90% chance he's going to run at this point. If he doesn't run, you have Rand Paul, DeSantis, but I kind of want him to stay in Florida. And we don't really know enough about Ron DeSantis to really want to put all of our money on him, because we don't know enough about him. And for the Democrats, it seems at this current moment of time like it's going to be Harris, but her reputation already is not the best, and who knows what it's going to be come 2024, 2023, that time. But if she doesn't run, I could see it maybe being Pete Buttigieg, who has been rumored to want to run again. I don't know much about Yang, about what his... I know he switched parties. He's now an independent. But, alright, let's do the safe states. We have the whole Mormon belt up here. I see, just for reference, my tilt is from 0. whatever to 0.9. My lean is 1 point to 4.9 points. And my likely is 5 points to 9.9 points. And then safe is 10 plus, whatever. Other people have their likely being up to 15 points, which is why you might see some people having Alaska, North Carolina, Kansas, some of these states as likely. I think 15 points is too high for likely, so I use 10 points for safe. Other people might use different, so just keep that in mind. Get all that. I also see some people saying that Rhode Island will get within 10. Same thing with Delaware. I know that they have been moving right a little bit. I don't think 2024 would be the time when it would turn likely. I think that's like more like a 2028, 2032 type situation there. Same thing goes for Oregon. I know 2016 it was very close to being in at least my likely column. In 2012 it was also fairly close. However, in 2020, 16 points. It shifted by, what is that, 5? Right? Yes, 5 points. So I'm going to keep that there. I do understand that Harris is unlikable, potentially more unlikable than Hillary, even. But I don't think it's going to be enough to move it down into the likely column. But we'll have to wait and see on that. And I do believe that is all the safe states. Can maybe include Colorado in that. I'll be right back. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Colorado. Let's see. This one from being what, a 5 point? No. Alright. Pretty much a 5-point win. Barely in the lean column in 2016. I believe in 2012. Yeah, they're still relatively close, except for 2008. So you can see how the state has moved. It went from being barely lean to well into safe. That is a pretty massive shift. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't like doing that. Let's see if I switch it around. Here we go. Okay. Shifted 8 points. 8.5. That is very substantial. New Mexico moved 2.6. Virginia moved almost 5. Harris is unlikely. I'm going to say it's going to be like around an 11-point win, maybe 10. Maybe even 9 to 8. It really depends on how things go the next couple of years. And speaking of next couple of years, if this border crisis gets any worse, I could very well see Mexico going into likely column. It was almost likely, and potentially even lean, but that's going to be a stretch. If this gets really out of hand, which already is out of hand, yeah, I could see it going down to likely at the very least, easily. Virginia, I could also see going into likely. It was a, 11-point win? No, 10, barely. So, that, given the national environment as well, I'm almost surprised it didn't go further left. I was seeing polls, which, again, you should be always skeptical of, but almost all the polls I saw had it being around a 14, 15-point win. So, I was sort of surprised when it was only 10. Granted, some of us were a bit naive in the early hours of 2020. We're like, oh man, is this going to be a likely Virginia, a lean Virginia? No, not at all. But yeah, I could see it being an 8-point win for Harris. And then for the other states, I see Texas. Let's see, was 5.6 from a 9-point win. I could see that going back to around an 8-point win. Harris just isn't unlikable, especially by Hispanics, which might surprise some people. But it's true, she's not liked by Hispanics, which is why partly why Hispanics came out so much for Trump in 2016, no, 2020, because if we look down here, all these shifts here, in the southern part of Texas right by the border, are majority Hispanic, if I'm correct. Huge swings. Huge. And these are hard to ignore. Yes, the state did get closer overall, but those gains in the South are very substantial. So, I do see it becoming an 8-point win. Some other people might say safe. That could happen. But if that was safe, then New Mexico would be lean, and like Arizona would be like a 4-point win or something, which I don't see that happening at all, even with Harris. And then Iowa and Ohio. Let me do this. I'm very torn on Iowa and Ohio because they were almost safe in 2016, if I'm correct. Yeah, very close, or at least Iowa was. And then they moved. Whoops. And then they moved left a little bit. Left by 0.1. Huh, that was more than that. Alright. I could see them both being safe. I would probably see Ohio being likely, and Iowa, keep on mixing up these guys, being safe. I could see this happening. I could see them both being safe. I could see this happening. I could see that happening. For the sake of argument, I'm going to keep it like this. But just keep in mind you could flip these however you want. If you want both to be likely, you do that. Both safe, whatever you want. But they are not being lean, and they are not going Democrat by any means. I don't think they're going to shift more left at all, matter of fact. I think they're only going more right from this point onward. Speaking of going more right from this point onward, Florida. I also think that it was already, a 3.4 win. That might go up to a 4-point win, 4.5. Potentially likely. Since the Cubans did come out pretty big for Trump in 2020. And if DeSantis wins by a bigger margin in 2022, since people often say how liked DeSantis was, but he didn't win by very much. Yeah, it was only almost 0.4. So he's definitely got to be on the lookout. Alright, so I also see some people say that North Carolina is going to flip. And while I do think it is something to keep your eye on, see, it went from, 2-point win to almost a 4, down to 1.3. That is a substantial swing. However, given the national environment, I don't think. Alright, given the national environment in 2020, 2022, and if 2022 is on the Republican side like we're thinking it's going to be, I don't think you need to be worried about North Carolina. Maybe in future elections, I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-point win, maybe 2.5. It is going to come back a little bit, but it's not going to be likely. I could see it being likely in the Senate, potentially, given, let's see, what's the dude's name? Bill something, right? Burr, yes. I could see it being likely there, for sure. But nationwide, or in presidential election, not yet, at least. Not yet. I also forgot to fill out Maine's second. It did go into the likely column. But then again, so did everything went left in the northern part of the state. So I don't really think it's anything to get upset about. I am even seeing some people on the left say that it is going to be a safe margin. As you see, it was 10 points, and then went down to 7.4. I think it's going to go back to being safe. Maybe a 9-point win. You could debate that. Now, Minnesota and New Hampshire. I understand the shift. I do get that. But you got to take into account how much happened in 2020, how much Trump mismanaged his campaign, which is a point I'm going to be coming back to a little bit later. Alright, Minnesota I could see maybe staying likely. However, New Hampshire, who hates incumbents from what we have seen in the past, I could see being lean. I could definitely see this happening. I'm going to be conservative and put that as lean. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but I'm going to roll with it. So now we're on to the main areas here. And alright, I'll just say the lean states, besides the other two. I think Georgia's going to flip back. People were expecting Georgia to go farther to the left than it did in previous elections. It's been going that way for a while now. And by the way, I also think it's sort of weird how Romney won in Arizona more than McCain did, and McCain is from Arizona. He's widely loved there. I just think that's an interesting little thing there. But anyways, yeah, Georgia's been moving left consistently. From what I've been seeing, from what I saw, people were thinking that Georgia's going to be a 2 to 3 point win for Trump, maybe a tilt margin, maybe. I don't think many people were expecting, besides people who are delusional, thinking Biden was going to win Wisconsin by 7 points. Yes, some people thought that. Many people didn't think it was actually going to flip. I'm having voice cracks today. But it did. It did flip by 0.23. I don't think that's going to stay. I think it was a 2008 Indiana situation where, for those who don't know, Indiana was a very Republican state, 20-point win, and then it flipped 2008. No one was expecting that. Very, very surprising. And then it flipped right back. A 11-point swing. So I think that's the situation we had with Georgia in 2020. While I do think the state is going to be Democrat in the future, I think 2022, 2024, there's a serious chance it could go red again. So I'm going to put that as lean for now. I do think Herschel Walker is going to win in 2022 against Warnock. Both of them have skeletons in their closet. However, Wofford did not exploit those skeletons in Warnock's closet. Radical liberal Raphael Warnock, he's called, in 2020, as she should have, because Loeffler was a terrible candidate. Mitch McConnell should never put her up. And Perdue, he just made too many blunders against John Ossoff, and as a result, we lost both those seats, which is very sad, very sad. But I do think Herschel Walker is the right candidate. He's going to take it back, and if he does win, I could see this being lean. If he doesn't win, I'm going to say it's going to be tilt again. Maybe lean down. But for now, I'm just going to say lean R. Now, I do believe Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are going to come back for the Republican Party, as well as Arizona. The reasoning for Wisconsin is that, let's see, Trump won it by 0.76. That is a substantial swing from almost 7. What is that exactly? Like, let's see, 7.7, 9.7, 6.1. Some of these other ones, 6.2, 5.2, 15.2, 11.1. Very, very impressive. And given everything that happened to Trump in 2020, getting impeached twice, getting COVID in general, the mismanagement of his campaign, calling everybody socialist, which is not the right messaging you want. You want the messaging he had in 2016, which is what I hope he brings back in 2024. With everything that happened to him in 2020, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona were still this close. I think that's very impressive. That is something that is being overlooked by too many people. Seriously, seriously overlooked. But if Trump fixes all those mistakes, or at least improves the messaging, it doesn't need to be 2016 level, but at least improves it to an extent, I do think that both of these states will come back. And it is very possible that they do come back for the Republican Party. Now, Michigan, on the other hand, that is a state that I could see staying with the Democratic Party, because while he did do very well, given everything that happened, almost 3 points is hard to ignore. It would be difficult to make that back, since you have Wayne County, Washtenaw County, Oakland County, Genesee, Ingham, Kent, and I believe this one flipped, and it was red if I'm correct. I might be getting that wrong. But there is ground to be made up here, but making up that ground is going to be difficult. Same thing Wisconsin. You have the WOW counties. You have the Driftless area. Door County flipped, which no one was expecting that, if I'm correct. I also believe La Crosse County flipped, and it was one of these three, maybe. Yeah, I think it was those ones. That can all be made back. It can be not only made back, but improved on, which is why I do think it can be lean. It was almost lean in 2016. It was close to it. Same with Pennsylvania. Michigan, not so much. I could see this happening. If Michigan does flip, it's going to be by a tilt margin. I don't think it's going to be lean just yet. Again, we still need to look at the 2022 midterms, the governor election. So there is a lot to look forward to. Doing this before the midterms is optimistic. I'm not going to deny that. But regarding everything else, again, Nevada and Nebraska's second are more things that I'm torn on, because there is going to be redistricting in Nebraska, specifically the second district. I believe it's going to be Saunders County is going to be added onto it, which on its own would not be enough to flip back Omaha or Douglas County, but it would help it a bit. It's going to be difficult to do. I think it can maybe stay lean, maybe. I'm going to have to see more from that area to make a definite conclusion on it. I've seen others say it's going to be likely, which I think it was a red herring, if that's the right term. I can get my terms mixed up. It was an anomaly, an outlier, in my opinion, that it went for him by that much, almost 7 points. I don't think that's going to happen again, although there is a good chunk, there's a good margin to fall back on. He could afford to lose, but he could lose. I can't speak. He could afford to lose the points there. He could win by 2 points, whereas Republicans have to win by almost 7, which will be difficult to do. I think that's going to stay Dem, for at least right now. And then Nevada, it has moved right a little bit, as you saw earlier. Specifically in Clark County, if I am correct in saying that. Let's see. Yes, Clark County moved to the right, which was very surprising, at least to me. Lincoln, White Pine, and Esmeralda, and Humboldt. However, while that is good, that swing needs to be more. I don't know if that's called a swing or a trend. I think it's a swing. And more needs to be done in Washoe County, as well as Clark County. I think this could be narrowed up to a, let's see, what is that, a 7-point margin? 8 almost with the decimal. I think it can be narrowed up to a 4 or a 5 potentially. That might be being optimistic, but you sort of have to be about Nevada. For Washoe County, I think that can be narrowed up as well to a 2-point margin. Not for the Republicans, but for the Dems. So I think that could be tilt. And as of right now, this is my prediction. There are some things you could change around, for sure. Some might say that's going to be lean. Others might say Florida's going to be likely. Georgia tilts, Texas safe. There are many things you can change here. Others might say that this is going to be likely, that Michigan's going to be lean, that Virginia's going to be safe. The Arizona's going to stay blue. Nevada might stay blue as well. Pennsylvania's going to go to Harris. There are ways to look at this and still be within the margin of error. It's just, in my opinion, I am Republican biased. Everybody has a bias, just how well they hide it, that's all. I'm not going to lie to you that it is possible that Trump loses in 2024. It all depends on how he presents himself and his campaign, and how well he improves and or fixes what he did wrong in 2020, which is a decent amount. But again, with how much he did wrong in 2020, he still only lost by, I believe, 60,000 votes total. All he needed to do was flip Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona. He get to 269, he wins in the House. It's maybe not the best way to win for your optics or reputation-wise. However, he was that close to winning, and many people ignore that. But with that, I am going to call this. So, yeah, here it is. Trump with 306, Harris with 232. Exact redux, electorally speaking, of 2016. And, yeah, that's about it.